Well, it's quite absurd that society has designed us to be in this formatty. But we also took that belief that we being a special gender as male, we think we're looking at the masculine bit of it that encompasses all its challenges, that we're supposed to, have all challenges to be a burden to us, minus sharing. Yet we have, you know, um, we have a gap. We have many avenues through which we can solve such situations. But it all comes up with we accepting and changing, the breaking the chain and trying to, create more information about mental health in men. Yes, from the word go, men are groomed to be actually men, minus looking at the other side of their problems, a problem which has really encompassed a lot of people to think that we are just a special gender that can take over anything that comes its way. But as time goes on, it's a collection of many situations, like a cancer, the way you see a cancer, it starts small, but as time goes on, it piles and piles, and then it ends up into a mental situation. Problem is, we don't have where to, offload our problems. Sometimes it's there, but then it's just inside us that we fail to actually to unleash everything we're having because of stereotype and because of the stigma of men and but basically with a mental issue, it's really a challenge. And in this economic world where things have really turned upside down, we're having a lot of problem. And speaking on behalf of people in the diaspora, it's actually worse. Loneliness is quite a challenge, and mostly people who are into these foreign lands where we find a lot of challenges and we don't know who to talk to. It becomes really a great problem or a challenge. In the diaspora, people are really so groomed from day one. A child is groomed to be independent. So as we go on, we find that this independent element is really disturbing. And by the fact that we come to a new society, new rules, and where a man is a little bit belittled in terms of rights. Because when we come to the diaspora here, you realize that women have got a lot of powers. Children have a lot of powers. So men were the last other gender which is really looked into. All our problems are really not so much given power, much as they say we have equal rights, but sometimes some rights surpasses others. So it's a challenge, and the worst thing, the avenues through which we can share our challenges are a little bit limited. But I believe by the end of this discussion today, we would have digested well about this mental health, and probably we shall look at the right remedies to be using. But for now, let me just stop here. Back to you.
Okay, thanks so much, Smoogie. And I was so much touched about the people in the diaspora, especially when you talked about loneliness. But I go back and thank such platforms like Euroforum UG, whereby people come out to share with peers, to talk their hearts out. So we are glad for such platforms, however much we have to look at, explore more into this thing. And by the end of the session, we pray that maybe we would have walked some part of the journey. Yes, Fatma, right there. Give us your own perspective of mental health. How do you see it in Uganda? Being a person who has been in journalism for long, at least you have a greater picture of what exactly you've been seeing, most especially on the side of men. What is it? What is mental health in men, and how does it look like in your own perspective?
Thank you, Janet, and thank you to the previous presenters. I am not going to speak in terms of the journalism field where I am, but I'm just going to give a general picture. You know, I love being objective. I love seeing things in their objectivity. Yeah. And the reason why I took on this advocacy for the boy child and their rights is a lot of advocacy had been done for the girl child. And then I looked at it as being unfair because we are all humans and we go through the same experiences and we are affected by all whatever it is that happens to us. But attention and a lot of cushioning and a lot of care has been given to the girl child, and the boy child has been left alone. And yet they go through the same experiences. They go through emotional damages or emotional breakdowns. They have no one to turn to. They go through all sorts of challenges that even girls go through, but they have no one to talk to. So no one has been there for the boy child, and this has really greatly affected their mental health. Because I mean, like everyone has said, they are trained to be masculine. They are trained to be strong. They are trained to be, to be barriers to take on anything, and yet they go through emotions. So situations have been piling and piling and piling, and we've seen a lot of suicidal thoughts in men and boys, and they have nowhere to turn to. Let's come to marriages. Men go through a lot in their marriages. Women or wives are making it tough for their husbands in their homes. But because a man is supposed to be a man and, be man enough, you don't have to, to show emotions. So they stomach a lot. So I think this is timely. We need to, keep talking about this. We need to also show society that men need the same kind of treatment as it is for the women, because we are the same in the way God created us. We are all human, human beings. We go through the same emotional situations, emotional stress, but because men have been groomed to be masculine, not to talk. When they talk, they are looked at as being weak, but they go through a lot. So that is the reason why I stand and fight for the rights of the boy child. I'll just conclude with an example. If a couple came to me recently and I had to hear from both sides, but from my conclusion, honestly, it was the lady being chaotic. But because we are tuned to speak out for ourselves, we are tuned to shout at the top of our voices, and men I think they are reserved. They have their words are few, but I realized that this guy was going through a lot in his marriage, in home, and he didn't have where to turn to. So yes, this is a timely topic. We need to talk about it, and we need to help men speak out. Otherwise, we risk losing lives because people don't have where to turn to unleash the emotional stress that they are going through. I'll give an example of some of our celebrities in Uganda here. They've taken on drugs because they don't have anyone to talk to, or they'll be judged when they come out. And I am happy for some that have started to come out. For example, I've seen artists like Jose Chameleone come out. I've seen Golola Moses one time came out. Yeah. So the abuse of drugs, most especially in these people, the popular people, the celebrities that we see, is because they cannot speak out about what it is going on through their lives. So this is a timely topic, and I hope that by the end of this topic, at least we would have, contributed to dealing with mental health in men. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Hatima, for that wonderful insight. You talked about being timely. Yeah, it's timely because it has touched my heart recently, seeing that many people, suicidal tendencies are so much in men, especially here in Uganda, where you realize that it can't, there is a time where we reached, and every day in the newspapers, maybe after a week, after 2 weeks, someone has died of suicide. We've seen a recent journalist who died here. I think he worked with NBS, who threw himself from up the building here in Pamocha and fell down and died. So it's really touching. It's really timely. Men are going through a lot. You talked of the marriages, and I remember the couple. They had issues, and the lady aired out her views. And when it was the man's time to air out the views, under the table, the lady kicked the man. So it meant she never wanted him to do what? To talk. So the man kept quiet automatically. So this showed that what's going on behind the curtains. I've seen a man who cried so much when the mother was dead, and when asked that you're the man here, you're the one supposed to be strong for your children, for your wife. He was like, my mother was everything to me. I used to tell her each and everything. I could run to her when my wife beats me every night. They were nearby. So this is when he aired out that the wife has been beating him. Can you imagine? This triggers me so much whenever I talk about it. I feel that there is something going out there that is silent because they don't talk, as we said. So I'll right away go to Yasin. I think he's on now. Yasin, let's kindly hear from you briefly, your introduction, and then your own perspective into this topic. Being a mental health specialist, how do you see these mental health issues in men?
Okay, good evening, colleagues. I may not be in position to bring out the camera because it disturbs me a bit. Yasin Sawankam is my name. A counselor, and I work with the Cornerstone Development Africa. I handle the boys in one of the homes. Yeah, then also I'm a counselor for Vienna College. I also handle boys in Vienna College. I'm a team leader for Amana Consult, an online counseling organization personal for mine, and I'm also running a business. Specifically, me, two things I understand in this world, that is counseling plus my religion, Islam. And I'm so passionate, work I've done for the last 14 years, handling and helping the boys grow. So it's a pressure that Madam Hatima is also fighting for the boy child. There is also this gentleman this way who is also doing it, but I'm doing it underground because I've not got a chance to penetrate through, but I'm doing it. Where I am, I'm the male counselor for the boys in the Cornerstone, an organization which has stayed for 30 years. And I handle the male workers, plus also I'm a dad, I'm a father, I'm a husband, and a dad of boys. When it comes to mental health, first of all, when you talk about mental health, it should begin with us in the home. Don't champion anyone outside when you have not helped your children. Always at least tell them that mental health is their priority and they should start with them. When you come back to our today topic, the silent killer of the crisis, I'm so humbled that at least I've presented this topic on very many platforms here in this country, but on a Luganda version. I was so grateful when I was added to be part of the panelists, but my phone disturbs a bit. 77% of the male polled have suffered with common mental health symptoms like anxiety, stress, or depression, and 40% of the men have never spoken to anyone about their mental health. 29% of those who haven't done so say they are too embarrassed. They are too embarrassed to speak about it. While 20% say there is negative stigma in the issue. Yes.
You may proceed. Yes, you may proceed.
Okay. Yeah. So men in trouble. When you come back here in Uganda, we have got different police cases. I think even Muchala Hatima will adhere with me, whereby you have seen men committing suicide as a result of mental health crises because they lack nowhere to talk. On this platform, I'm going to stand here and appreciate everyone who is trying to come out, the different key players, both on local and international, who have tried to come out to help men speak. That's why in June, the whole world celebrates men mental health, but as a result, to help men learn to speak, and as a result, to encourage them to be talking about their mental health, not to die alone and in silence. So, being the fact that mental health has been a disguise, especially to men who always say they do not want to come for counseling, I've faced that so many times, but again, it has been a success for me that God has given me chance at least to handle the most highly professional individuals who at first thought that going in for counseling, it is a weak process. So with mental health, it is a bigger challenge. It is an alarming crisis, and it is a facing problem which is failing us, especially men, and we carry it back to our children in the homes with a way and a pretense that's how we are brought up. That is my submission at the moment.
Thanks so much, Yasin. Looking at all your perspective, yeah, it's being giving me we are getting an insight into the issue now that there is something Smokey talked about of offloading, where men don't have where to offload, and Yasin is also talking about it, that men are hiding away from help. But I think it also takes us to the childhood, as Mariam and Fatima said. Now, looking at all these perspectives, as we've seen, whatever we've seen from the different corners of the world, Mariam, could you kindly take us through some of the signs that we can see when you look at a man, that we can see that we know that these men maybe are going through something, or some of the signs? Okay, before we go to Mariam, Smokey, within something like 3 minutes, kindly help me put up that announcement we have, and then we could proceed.
Probably it's not well said, but I think towards the end we shall try to come with it. But for now, let me just go through, and then I'll see towards the end of the show. Probably I'll do that. But let's get more from Mariam.
Yeah, you also help me check if we have some messages on Facebook. Yeah,
Okay.
Mariam, what are some of the signs that people are going to see that maybe even this gender is also going through something? Because maybe we are all negligent, thinking that as if everything is okay. So if we know these things, at least people will start knowing that maybe even these people are being equally affected like others. Kindly take us through, give us an insight through that, Mariam.
Thank you so much, Janet, and all the previous presenters. As people have been speaking about mental health or emotional breakdown, I really reached a stage of thinking, I think this is now coming away from pandemic to endemic, that may even be hard to overcome, given the fact that the world is turning upside down. Issues are here and there. We are seeing struggles people are going through. So this mental health crisis or this nervousness might continue, that people can carry it on and on because of the way the world is running today. However, before we reach into symptoms, there are some of the thoughts that first come into people's minds when they are coming close to severe emotional distress or mental health breakdown. People begin to think that I'm losing control, everything is wrong, I don't know how to do it, I am stuck, I cannot function. People begin to think that, I think I can't move anymore. And in that line, people now reach to the real symptoms, where we find that we might see that someone is at the edge. Someone is on the edge, feeling like wow, I'm now almost done. Nothing more to be thought about, because the heaviness is too heavy on men. The other symptom we can look at is men become, or they lose most of their energy, or they are very low and they have a lot of fatigue. You know, someone sleeps, but he doesn't sleep. The body is aching here and there. He feels as if he's lifted tons and tons of bags. The whole body is aching because he's having serious mental health issues. The other symptom is that severe anxiety, the fear, the nervousness, you know. Hatima mentioned something on relationship, that when a man is under a mental health breakdown, then in a relationship, these signs come out very strongly, where the man is too much anxious, he's very harsh, he's too moody, you know, he feels that sense of worthlessness that sometimes maybe now, like these days, you know, in Uganda, we are crying over iflis and stuff. When the guys fail to provide at home, they feel they are worthless, they are powerless, and you know, they feel that guilt and anger because they feel they've not done enough. So when they find women like the ones that have been mentioned that abuse their own husbands, it is very easy for these men to really fall into that big trap of mental health breakdown. And the other thing is, because men don't cry physically, he feels like he wants to have an outburst. He feels that chest is too heavy, he cannot openly do it, and he goes on carrying that heavy burden on his chest, which is a very dangerous symptom for such a person who is having a mental health breakdown. And in the end, we end up saying, alabika bamuloga awulira ebintu bimutudde mu kifuba, awulira alina amagini gamuzitooweredde, yet
Yeah.
inside him. The other thing is also interesting to the things they love, like watching football or talking to friends. You find that he has no interest in such things because he's having a lot of thoughts or things that are going on in his head, and he cannot open up to anyone. The person he would be confiding in, that is the wife, she's too harsh also. Maybe she also has her own stressors, and maybe she has no mother, and you find this man is really carrying a lot of weight on him. Some other men do isolate, you know. You find he isolates at his place of work. He sits somewhere alone in the corner. We say sometimes they go into their cave, you know, they hide somewhere and they just want to be quiet. Nothing like movement at all. No one to say anything. They're just silent over there. They're in their cave. They have a lot of thoughts running into their mind, and there is nothing that is coming to ripe. So you find that this brings men into that breakdown. Another symptom that we can tell that these men are really having that severe emotional distress or nervousness is the way they see things, that their view of things will change, or their view of the world will change. And the way they view themselves might also change. They find they are worthless. They see the world as if it is a place for torture and problem causing. They feel, you know, everything is upside down. They even hate their own children. They see them as a burden. So their view of the world changes. You talk to someone, you know, and he's total 100% negative. Why? Because he's going through something so hard on him, and he can hardly share it out unless someone is trained to probe with these people to get the information to tell that really this person is going through something, or unless men accept that, you know what, feeling distressed or mental breakdown is part and parcel of life, we can always go and share it with others. And the other thing is that another symptom we can tell that this person is into mental distress is having those thoughts of self-harm. You know, after sometimes when you are walking in, you are traveling, or when you board a taxi, you find someone is talking alone, he's making gestures, he's shaking his head, and it's like, you know, he feels everything is upside down. So they begin to get thoughts of self-harm, like, oh, I will get better if I kill myself. I think that can be a better option, yet it has never been a better option for someone to be suicidal. So in the end, we end up staying maybe in homes or workplaces where our people are suffering and men are really under intense pressure, but we can hardly tell that maybe someone is going through ABCD if you cannot tell these signs, or if they cannot talk to someone such that they share out their views. So all those symptoms can cause these men in the end either to run mad or to think of suicidal ideations, and in the end we lose such people in the world. I think those are some of the symptoms of mental health. Irritability, I've talked about it. Moodiness, people are having a lot of moods that are unclear. And time, we're not sure until what is happening. Someone just gets off and you're like, hey, what's happening? If he's home, he can be very irritable that he beats children in the way you cannot imagine. He just kicks them off because there is something that is running on in their minds and we cannot tell. And there's many chances of them becoming very aggressive, and most of them even miss on sleep. Someone takes the whole night without sleep, or he sleeps for only an hour or two, and he keeps on looking the whole night. Why? Because he's going through a mental breakdown. I think those are some of the few symptoms we can tell that someone is going into severe mental health distress or emotional distress. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Mariam. You talked about the financial. Men are really suffering because we've seen even men reaching an extent of sacrificing their own children. You hear that a dad was caught because he sacrificed his daughter. So it seems some people do some of these things maybe out of mental breakdown. Apart from the silent death we are talking about of the heart, of the mind, of the emotions, but when you also look at physical death, I've ever had a gentleman who went to rent a house in a certain village, and then he was like, he go on making inquiries to be aware of the neighbors he's going to have, and he was told that that house belongs to Wanamwandu Gundi. So most of the owners of the houses were widows. So the man was like, I'm not staying in this village. And then they asked him why. He said, in this village, it seems men die faster than women. So I don't know whether. So you realize that maybe it's a lot in the world of men. And I think we are yet to discover, to explore what's really going on in the world of men. Yes, Hatma.
Actually, to supplement a little bit with mental health, it's just really it ranges actually from mild to severe. Sometimes you can even fail to identify. You can fail to know the difference between even the signs and its effects, but you can always tell from how it starts, from its genesis, when you realize that actually you can tell certain signs. And at times when it goes mild, that's when also the physical signs can be easily witnessed. Say, for example, you can even go ahead to have some headaches on you. You can have back pain. If you're very certain, there are very many people who tend to have changes in the sleeping pattern. In your sleeping pattern, you tend to change. Someone who used to sleep a little bit more, this time sleeps less. Meanwhile, there was a story, it was here in the diaspora, where one of the gentlemen was witnessed. We were in the trains, these city trains. Very many people were inside. Actually, it was a Muganda from Uganda. Out of the blue, when people are silent, just look at my expression right now. He just said, Bananyo Buji.
Yeah, that's what
So,
I've heard about.
A situation like that,
you're
in a train where people are very civil, everyone is quiet, then a certain Muganda from a distance, Tamanyi Uganda, we're in a country where they don't speak English, but someone out of the blue says, Bananyo Buji. And it was aggressive. It was towards Christmas, and it was later proven that he was deep in his thoughts. He's a gentleman who is having 2 wives back home. He is having a lot of challenges. He's just talking to himself. And out of the blue, he spoke it out.
Bananyo
Buji.
He was thinking loud.
He was actually thinking loud. So that's why I was trying to say that these signs, sometimes they can go from mild to severe, and then it's really dangerous. And there was one who was just written on WhatsApp. He says, you guys don't forget certain signs that even there's loss of libido, when it comes to sexual performance. Abasajja bagamba, there's nothing you can do about it. And if you go ahead, there's also weight loss when it comes to the physical signs. Some people go ahead by overeating, while it's also true, others even lose the appetite of eating. But it's all about the mental health. But thank you very much. Back to you, Madam Host.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Smugi and Mariam, for those wonderful insights. Talking of the physical, I've also seen men getting some panic attacks, by the way. You find that a man has an illness that has not been of his own. Maybe he goes into an asthmatic attack, and on checking him, they realize that he's only going through some mental breakdown. So they are going through a lot, and I feel we would maybe look at some of the reasons. Why do you think men are going into this situation? Hatima, on your side, back to you in your own perspective. Why do you think men are going into all this?
I think the ladies on the call here now know that it's not a natural process that men die faster than their wives. Yeah, it's not how God made it. Yeah, but we keep pretend buonofa. We think men will die before women. It's not natural. It's not in the making. It's about such instances, such mental health issues. Yeah, that men go through. That lead them to dying faster.
And yet they are the engine. They are the engine. So when they go through this all overwhelm, so you don't expect them to be okay automatically.
Definitely. Yeah, men often face unique challenges when it comes to mental health. And in many times, these challenges contribute to what we are talking about now. And I'm summing it up in five key points that I chose to talk about. Number one, we have talked about it, all of us. It is societal expectations. Because tradition, the traditional notions of masculinity do emphasize traits as being strong, being self-reliant, and this creates a societal pressure on men to hide their vulnerabilities, or even avoid seeking help. So when they express their emotional struggles, it is looked at as being weak, being a failure. So cultural expectations can contribute to men internalizing their problems, and they struggle with their mental health issues in silence because they fear being judged. So I think society needs to change a bit and look at men as also being human beings like women we are. Then number two is stigma. Why stigma? The stigma surrounding mental health can be especially pronounced for men. Now, this stigma often stems from societal beliefs, the ones that I talked about, that equate mental health struggles with personal failures or weaknesses. Now, for men, admitting to mental health issues can feel like a breach of the expected masculine norms, or making them less likely to seek help and to talk about their experiences. Banawulira batya nti omukazi ankuba kansirike. You get it? So this can perpetuate a cycle of silence and isolation, making it worse in their struggles. So I implore men to come out and speak. Do not fear to be judged. And then society should stop also judging men. In my introduction part, I talked about women have mastered the art of talking for themselves. I will call these communication styles. Men and women often have different approaches to expressing and processing their emotions. So this can influence men's willingness to seek support. Social and psychological factors can also lead men to internalize their feelings and deal with them privately rather than openly coming to counselors like Mariam or Janat or even myself to seek help and communicate. So men might prefer to address issues through action rather than discussion, which actions they turn into battlers. They beat the women at home, or they beat children at home, or others tend to, drink a lot. Others abuse their drugs, and the worst there is to commit suicide. So this affects their engagement with traditional forms of emotional support because they don't know how to communicate. If you've witnessed a quarrel between a couple, The man will always be silent while the woman is, you know, that kind of thing. Men are, I think men action packed. They think action. So the communication styles also rather contribute to men is keeping silent about their mental health issues. And then also men are reluctant to seek help. You know, all these points are interrelated. Many men avoid seeking professional help due to fears of judgment or a belief in self-reliance. Nchisobola, jachimaliriza, you get it? So they might worry about being perceived as weak or inadequate if they come to us and seek help. Yet it helps. So this can create a barrier to accessing mental health services. Let's not even go to, before we even go to mental health services, a man will catch a fever or malaria and they'll not go to hospital for medication. Yeah?
Yeah.
They'll think that because I am a man, good agenda, you know, that kind of thing. But then you're wearing your body out. You're affecting your health. So that belief that they should be able to manage their problems independently can also prevent them from reaching out. Even when they are really struggling, kati oyo nga bananywa obuugi, you get, even the buugi might not even be at home. So nga bimusobedde, but they cannot seek help. They are hurting within themselves. And then my last point is the lack of awareness. You know, many men might not recognize the symptoms, the ones that Mariam and Smoggy have talked about. Someone might be adding on weight, and then they think maybe it's the, God forbid, the alcohol they are taking, or it's the, you know, or someone is losing weight, they are like, oh, chichi, you know, but they don't know, they are not aware of their mental health issues. You know, sometimes it manifests differently than expected, or it can be confused with other problems. Yeah. So someone might put on weight or maybe it's the food, it's what, and yet it is, you know, it is something else. You get libido. Yeah. Someone might be losing their libido. They don't know it's about, it's coming from their mental health. So so additionally, they may lack the information about where to find the appropriate help or resources. But we are here. I am here. Janet is here. Mariam is here. Please, men, learn to seek help, because the lack of awareness can lead to a delay in seeking treatment or support. And before you know it, it is too late. We cannot stop you from whatever it is that your mind is telling you to do, you know. So those are my 5 key points that I picked out in regards to the factors about the men's mental health. But the key factor is societal expectation. The mothers on the forum, how are you raising your sons? Yeah, are you raising them to stomach their problems? If a son comes to report to you that mommy thingy has slapped me or beaten me, don't just send him away and you're a man, go and, you know, no, offer him a shoulder to cry on. You get it?
Yeah.
Offer him a shoulder to cry on, tell him it is okay, you know. And I keep giving this example. When my son was about around 7, 8 years, so he cried for a baby doll, his sister's baby doll. And my house administrator then was like, now oli mulenzi abalenzi tebazanyisa ddole. And I was like, no, it's not right. I mean, he's going to be a father in the near future. So if he doesn't know how to take care of a baby, how do you expect him to know when he grows up? So the mothers on this forum, how are we raising our sons? Are we raising them to, you know, communicate what they are going through openly with you? Or you're showing them to stomach everything that goes on in their life? That is why we are seeing, I'm sorry to mention this, I cannot leave this forum minus mentioning it. That is why we are seeing certain behaviors that are unacceptable in our society cropping into our children, because we've not given our children platform to openly talk about things. We are telling them to be men. We are telling them to be masculine.